Hello and welcome to Bread Theory. For those of you new to the show, what we do on Sunday nights is kind of just whatever. It's a loose, just kind of whatever striking my fancy. Usually something political, something to do with the left, or at least the critics of the left. Um, and tonight I have a very special guest. I have Dan Plaat, who's been on stream a number of times. I think three different times now, talking about leftist theory with the conquest of bread. We did a few chapters together. But tonight we are going to talk about new urbanism because that happens to be part of his background as well. He's trained as an architect. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a call, and we will get into the evening's discussion. Hello, Dan.
Hello, hello.
How are you tonight?
Excellent, except for the heat.
Oh, I mean,
Second of the year. How are you holding up?
doing okay. Good timing there with that.
Hmm.
It's like a heat alert.
Climate change is here, bitch.
um, yeah,
Fire, on fire.
it has been ungodly hot these past couple of weeks. We finally had a little dip. It was like upper 70s today. A lot more bearable, but in general, it's been 90s easily. So it
I'll
seems to
tell
be
you what.
gripping a good chunk of the planet. I've heard as far out as the Middle East is having record breaking, late spring, early summer weather.
Yeah, quite frankly, more heat waves or more seriously, record-breaking heat waves.
Yep.
Um, we had a good week or two where it was back to kind of normal summer weather. We had a heat wave about a month ago, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, and we have another one which is going to last much longer. It seems it's not breaking until Thursday in
Wow.
New York. Yeah, I looked at like the forecast. I'm like, oh, damn it! I
Mm.
knew it was getting hotter, but like it's gonna be this hot again.
Yep.
Because yesterday I was painting, I was house painting, and I was drenched.
I'm sure. Yeah. I do landscaping now. I've switched jobs since last we spoke, so I'm doing landscaping. So I'm out all day in the hot sun planting stuff, generally. So it's not fun, at least that
Uh,
part of it. Um, so
Sounds
yeah.
like you need a union.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, actually, part of my workplace is unionized. The construction crew that do the constructions of the various parks that we create and help maintain. They do have a union, so I'm always envious of them.
But landscaping is a trade and
Yep,
probably should be, well, everything needs to be organized. But
absolutely. Because I mean, we're dealing with difficult, oftentimes dangerous working conditions. Our bosses are always coming down on us for taking extra breaks at gas stations and whatnot, and using company fuel to go out and comfort ourselves when we should have just planned ahead with ice packs and
uh-huh,
meals and all that sort of thing.
take lunch.
Yep. So yeah, we definitely could use a union. There's no doubt about that. Fortunately, there's not that many of us. uh, it's just
Sometimes that makes it easier because then
that may
you
be
only
true.
need to convince three people.
That may be true. That may be true. Yeah. So
So
tonight,
it was my
oh
idea to no, go ahead.
no, you're launching right into what I was about to get to. So
I suppose,
go
but I just
forth.
trailed off.
No, no
So it was
problem.
my idea to, since we both had a architectural or urbanism background,
Right.
to cover some memes, if not some videos, definitely pictures, and kind of give our own thoughts on them as leftists or just as people who have roughly informed opinions. Not to be elitist versus populist or something like that. Maybe we can kind of discuss our feelings on that.
Yeah, absolutely,
I'm still yet to be set on a certain thing, but um,
absolutely.
I always kind of like see like well, we can get into it. I don't know. I
Sure.
don't have a point there.
Oh no problem at all. So new urbanism. It's a concept that I mean, outside of planning and architectural and possibly even engineering circles, maybe not that well known. and I always have trouble kind of encapsulating it in, a tidy package. What do you tell people when you're trying to explain what new urbanism is to them?
Well, I guess I'd start by saying that it's not really new anymore.
Right.
New urbanism was a movement that started in the 80s, and sort of like the Reagan Revolution, it has a neoliberal character to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of meant to be an antidote to mollification
Right.
and neoliberal or postmodern economics and the draining of cities and suburbanization. But since it didn't have a radical or Marxist or revolutionary character to it, it's just we're going to be hired by capitalists and
Mm-hmm.
developers to make their projects a little less ticky tacky, but it's still going to be sprawl. It's still going to be capitalist and
Right.
unecological. It's trying to do certain things, but then when the designs or the style is then taken on by the marketplace, it immediately goes to a lowest common denominator execution.
For sure.
So, and then it becomes the ticky-tacky gentrification
Oh, absolutely.
that we all love, the architecture,
Yeah.
the puke. Um, there's some blogs that kind of have creative names. Like one thing it was like like Trumpian Baroque Cola, Baroque Cola,
Baroque
like
cola.
yeah, these parodies of neo of classical styles that are just slapped onto whether it's
Oh,
McMansions or condo towers, like the one
that's
that
so
just
good.
collapsed, which was actually a modern design, but
Oh.
whatever.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't
We're
really
gonna talk about that.
dug into
Have you
that
seen
one
the
yet.
news on this?
Not
Breaking
too
news.
much. I saw that Hassan covered it, but have not checked out his video yet.
Oh, I actually did this morning, but I heard about it yesterday, um, and so to long story short, a building, a condo tower that's about 30 or so years old, maybe 40,
Mm-hmm.
um, had after a building inspection, there were cracks, there was structural damage, especially uh, under around the roof, the pool roof deck. Or I don't know, the pool wasn't on the roof, but
Hmm.
I guess maybe it was just the roof deck or something. And in the middle of the night, it pancaked.
Ah.
Half the building collapsed. And it's funny. Well, I could make my 11 jokes about like I wonder if there's you could like I could make everything you could say about the towers collapsing, you could say about this one. You know, people, witnesses and survivors are saying that they have heard loud bangs as the tower collapsed,
Uh-huh.
and other things like that. So maybe this was a deep state. But anyway, 100
Controlled
people are
demolition. Oh
missing.
no, they're at it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like yes, so it's also beachfront property. So you also have rising water levels. The fact that
Yep.
these towers are built, it's Miami.
Uh-huh.
And in Florida, there's virtually no enforcement of building codes or whatever. You know, there's rules on the book. There could be rules on the books, but that doesn't actually mean there's enforcement.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Well,
so
that's how you keep those taxes low, right? Is you slash all the regulations.
exactly, you know, and you have a veneer of prosperity, but then every few years you have a disaster,
Uh-huh.
and could be a shooting, could be mass shooting, could be 100 people dying in their apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And so 100 are missing, but most are probably presumed dead. They're looking for to see if anyone's alive under the rubble. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's quite tragic. But it's completely preventable as far as capitalist construction. You know,
Yeah.
the corners are going to be cut, and if something needs to be fixed, it's likely not going to be. Even if there's like, no, this will actually fall down. There'll be well, let's give it a few years. Let's see what happens. Meanwhile, $700, 700,000 for the unit,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean that calls to mind when close to me the 35W bridge collapsed because they knew for years and years that it was structurally not great.
Yeah.
Um, but there was always just one more thing that they had to get to, and then
Yeah.
eventually, middle of rush hour, it just it
Pancaked. Yeah.
collapsed. Yeah, fell over.
Actually, you don't need to watch Hassan's video because he spent half of it once again arguing with his chat about like what counts as third world. Because like you don't expect something like this to happen in the imperial core, but we're a declining empire already, and things are going to collapse on us because nothing is really going to be maintained anymore. Because all wealth, all value has been siphoned into the 1%, to the 1%. Whether they wanted the wealth or not, that's how it goes.
Hmm.
So nothing, it's not going to go to infrastructure spending. And even when it does, we have the infrastructure bills. It's still
Right.
going to be just roads
Hmm.
and
And
vanity
usually new
projects.
roads too.
And new road, yeah, expanding the roads and vanity projects.
Yep. Gotta
It's
gotta
really
bring in that
it's
pork
a
barrel spending and
it's angering.
yeah.
Um, it's really angering, um, enraging.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what
Well,
did you want to? Do you have a preference for what to start on?
no, not too much. If you want to start
Maybe
at some
the
of
video
the
first.
Facebook groups, do you want to do that
Yeah,
first, or do you want to get to the videos first? Because the video is probably going to take a while.
yeah. So let's do the memes first.
Do the memes first. So let me switch over to that. All right. So the first group we're going to take a look at is called "That's It, I'm Architecture Shaming." Let me switch over to that real quick.
Oh, I can see it. So just a background. When I joined this group, like in the winter, it was
Mm-hmm.
much smaller, and half of the posts were actually people sharing architecture they liked.
Uh huh.
But half were also ugly houses. And sometimes people were sharing things that weren't ugly at all, or at least were controversial as far as who thought they were ugly or not. So it's definitely kind of a nice proving ground to see where, I don't know, random Americans' tastes are at.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a post where someone was saying, like, this is ugly ass building, you know. It was just a nice modern house with a butterfly roof.
Uh huh.
But like they never probably seen a butterfly roof before,
It
so
just
their
struck
head
them as
was like,
bizarre.
"What the fuck am I looking at?
That's
It's like
funny.
inverted roof. It's ugly. It's backwards. Why would you do this?" I'm like, well, actually, there are reasons to make a butterfly roof.
Yeah.
If you're actually in an arid climate or a not so rainy climate, they're actually really great because they allow for more daylighting, or you can have higher windows.
Uh huh.
A lot of reasons to have.
For
It's
sure.
called. It even has a. It's not just a butter. They're called mansard roofs.
Oh, Mazard. That sounds familiar from one of my urban
That's
planning classes. Probably my historic preservation class. Mazard.
yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Cool. All right. Let's take a look at what we got here in this particular group. I'm
yeah,
new to the group, so I haven't seen it yet.
yeah.
Oh man.
So
So
this
that's
is just
cool. Who doesn't like
yeah.
that toilet design?
Well, no, well, this is the mods post
Oh,
explaining
I
that
see.
as far as approving posts, they're going to have standards now,
I see.
and they're saying that their toilets overflowing
Oh, I see.
with requests, you know.
Aha.
So
Aha.
yeah,
Cool.
so you can go down.
Uh, Again, like this is modernist stuff.
Yeah,
Let's get a tip out
you can
window.
scroll up to see what like the text is to see like
Okay.
are they
Oh,
posting
I
this
see. Yeah,
in good faith or are they
we'll do that.
posting this like they have a problem with it?
The Chicken Point Cabin in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, designed by Seattle architect Tom Kundig about 10 years ago. Spent a week in the cabin next door to it and was obsessed. So they like this.
Yeah,
Okay, so maybe not
or
getting.
maybe they're obsessed in a bad way. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. That's
I
true.
imagine so many zombie apocalypse scenarios playing out here. The sad part is that no one ever lived in it.
Uh huh.
People here have stayed in it only a few times. Weird, right?
That is weird.
Like it's just an Airbnb place, I guess. I mean, she said
That must be.
she was just staying at the cabin.
Uh huh.
So maybe because it's in the middle of nowhere, that's where the zombie apocalypse stuff comes into place. Like, or is she talking like because it uses CMU bricks on the for the walls, so it's like a bunker
Yeah.
in her mind. But this is also a butterfly roof. See, the roof is tilted.
Uh
Well,
huh.
it isn't a butterfly, but it's simply a one slab roof.
I see.
Where is it? into
It does look
town.
like it pitches up to on the left
Yeah,
side there.
exactly.
Interesting.
This allows for more passive gain though,
Yeah.
and it's got this nice swinging glass wall here.
Yeah, I like that swinging glass wall quite a lot. You know, it actually promotes airflow and
Hmm.
more porosity. Adds that
Especially
to
on
the.
those hot days
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this
like
is
today.
Idaho, so yeah. I don't really know the climate of Idaho that well, but sure.
Uh,
Oh boy,
cold
here we
cold
go.
winter.
Here we go.
This is Dubai, baby. Not sure, shame or
Dubai.
awe.
Yeah, yeah. Shame or awe.
Yeah,
I mean, both.
well,
It like
it's the
something
extreme.
about just that level of uniformity is almost mesmerizing. The way that it hits you all at once, but my
It definitely like the Tiki little boxes song, comes
yeah,
to mind.
yeah, the
They're not
Pete
even
Seeger.
different colors. There's
No.
beige and off beige.
Wow.
Um, it's
And
just
they
like, oh, we have so much. But the worst thing is, this isn't even like, is there even demand for these? Is there even enough
That's a
people
good point.
moving to Dubai,
I mean,
or the or
especially.
are these are all timeshares or something?
Yeah, well, I mean, especially you think about Dubai and how many of like the elite celebrities and whatnot all have to have their property in Dubai as both like a showpiece that they can show off to their friends and also as
Yeah.
investment pieces.
Yeah, you rent this and you basically can say, I have a place in
I have a
Dubai.
place in
And it's
Dubai. There
that's
you go.
all it's for.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that literally is all it's for. Is just so you can have an
But
address.
a Pakistani worker is buried under each one. So,
Mm.
you get that too.
Mm-hmm. Yup. Yeah, man. And they say that Soviet architecture was soulless and monotonous. They never achieved anything like
This
this.
is 100% capitalist
Is
right here.
yeah, I mean Dubai.
I'm just
Think of a
pointing that
more
out,
capital.
okay?
Yeah, right. Think of a more capitalist
There'll be a
oriented
meme
country.
very similar in another group where it's just communist architecture, capitalist, and it's basically the same cityscape.
Yeah.
They're just, apartment rows.
Wow, that's some good
Moving
stuff.
on.
Moving on. Yeah, and also look, there's almost no traffic. Maybe it's just the time of day, but
Or there's just no one living there yet.
right. I mean, to me, that kind of indicates that maybe it's
These
just
are
not.
these are built and then they're sold later.
Yeah, that's true.
Some, or they may
Whew.
have, this one's called the Jetsons House. It is located in Urbandale, Iowa, and it is one of the what was the other
Oh,
words?
sorry about that.
One
Yeah,
of those buildings that was not the architect's fault. The owner got what he wanted.
sure.
So there's also a common like trope with this page of like, are we blaming an architect or is it because there was a lack of an architect?
Yeah, that's a
Uh,
fair enough point. Like
and or an architect is just doing what the client wants. The
right,
client is holding the money,
right,
and so when an architect designs something, they don't actually have creative freedom most of the time. So
right.
whenever there's you see a piece of new urbanist, apartment blocks,
Mm-hmm.
you should understand that this is not their original design. This is when the after the accountants get to it,
Right.
and the real estate agents get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. It's a nice round house. I mean, I think it's a
It's
little too high
interesting.
up,
Right.
but I think he wanted a 360 view.
I'm guessing
Uh,
he always wanted to have a tree
and
house as a child, and he's just playing
some,
out that fantasy.
I suppose. I mean, the way it juts out of the pitched roof
Uh huh.
could definitely be a bit smoother.
Yeah, if it was just a freestanding building, I think it would actually be a lot more
Yeah.
graceful. But
Or if say the house is coming out of at least was square,
yeah,
kind of have
yeah,
more of a lighthouse kind of feel to it
yeah, you're right.
with a base.
Because that is a gigantic rooftop that
Like
it's
like
coming out
like
of
it's a
too.
really like yeah. What is the rest of that building? Is it one large room?
You
Because
know,
usually because oh it's so you notice the below the slope roof on the
yeah,
left in the right corner looks like there's a garage door.
yeah. I'm
So
wondering if
there's
it's
yeah. Why don't we go down to the aerial view there?
sure. I'm wondering.
So
Yeah, you can see that entrance. I'm wondering if it's just his massive garage for all his sports
it is.
cars.
You know what? It is. It is a garage. I can because the way good architecture does work is that like you have the roof cover the space,
Right.
so you can kind of read how big a space is based on the roof,
Uh huh.
and and that's saying this is the garage, and it's also half buried. which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
Um,
You know, some
and
thermal
and
gain
then the
for a bit.
living is like above in the clouds. So it's
Sure.
very it's like a conceptual diagram from architecture school
Uh huh.
first year made real.
Huh.
You know, because this literally does without the janky roof line.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like a first year project.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, you know, that again, nothing too bad except for the Dubai one so far. No, not
I'm
shaming. I
not
want this
shaming.
one.
I'm in love, and I wanted to share it.
I don't know. I've never really liked the Rambler style. It's
The
just
Rambler stuff. Hey, but it was owned by a Beastie Boy.
well, I mean, I'm sure that's the only reason that anyone would want
Look,
to
check
have it
this out.
now.
Interesting note about the Beastie Boys and
Yeah.
other Jewish Brooklyn rappers. Basically, their kind of cultural attitude kind of comes from the fact that they grew up in minority, black neighborhoods, but they were like, but Jews. And
Mm-hmm.
even though like you kind of had, well, Jews are light skinned, they're white, but they're living in these minority neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And so like even though there's still this kind of bullying antagonism
Right.
between the two, and this occurred with myself as well. Um, there was still kind of um, a sort of subconscious attitude that we were still like in it together. Like,
Yeah.
after getting like, pushed around and getting my bag searched or something, it's just, but they're
Sure.
not actually going to take anything. It's just, it's like a play. It's like playing around. It's like, oh, we're just playing around.
Right.
Now, of course, younger me fucking hates that. But at the same time, it's like, well, they didn't actually rob me. And because, oh, we're on the same team, so
Mm-hmm.
to speak. So you get more empathy or solidarity
Yeah. Yeah.
later on, and that's how you get the Beastie Boys,
There you go. It's like
uh, and Eminem to some extent, but also other
sure.
Jewish rappers
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
or
kind of
any early white rappers. They were usually
for sure.
Jewish.
For sure. Um, House of Pain comes up as one notable exception, but they really played into their Irish identity and working class identity when they
Right.
came out.
I think you just put the Skype window up.
Oh no! Oh, sorry. So you're not able to see it when I go back to OBS, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Rambler, cool. Like again, not really what this group
Split
is for,
level.
but
Is it
that's
split level? Don't know. Yeah,
it.
that's the
I
thing.
couldn't
Yeah,
tell
like,
if it was
that's the
split
thing.
level.
How most of these posts, like, it's almost frustrating. I'm
Yeah.
expecting things to laugh at,
Whew.
but half of the houses aren't so bad. They're just bad from a certain normative
Right.
viewpoint sometimes.
Right.
Like this isn't a normal suburban house.
Right.
It's funny. So that's what this guy says. I'm in a property
Oops. Sorry.
business, and this is the most bizarre house I've ever come across. Every single room is painted like a sky. The
Huh.
stonework appears to be drawn on.
Oh
I
really?
do, I don't know. It just looks like CMU blocks.
Yeah, it
Uh,
does.
I do, however, believe that J Lo and Bruce Willis portraits are a real selling point. Uh, yeah, because so sometimes like people are posting real estate listings,
Yeah.
as this is.
Yeah.
Um, so it could be painted like the it's just cladding. It's a stone cladding, which
Yeah.
is just an inch or literally half an inch thick.
Yeah.
Or it's made with CMU blocks, but that's probably not it.
I
The
mean,
outside stairs are
that's the interesting part.
interesting, but there's no banisters.
Right. How is that even up to code?
Which is not.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
there's no codes
oh, I
because,
mean, I suppose that's true.
there's freedom.
Yeah, it definitely is very castle-like in a lot of its features, but again, it's not
Except
so
that
outrageous. Like I'm not
except it
like,
has well, except the base, the main like
mm-hmm,
with the massing of the house.
mm-hmm.
It's just a simple two-story with a pitched roof
Yeah,
and kind of a half a third floor.
it almost looks like they added that castle section on that like whole right side because it
Definitely.
totally different style.
But it
Interesting.
says like bunker more to me, as
Yeah.
well as the way the CMU blocks kind
Mm-hmm.
of around the second tallest.
Sure.
Kind of remind me of the top of buildings in the Middle East
Mm-hmm.
where they have because it's the main building material. They got nothing else,
Right.
and but they want to kind of have a kind of nice banister around the top of the roof, but they don't need to build out a full wall.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of do that.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Well, hey, let's move on. See what else we got here. All right.
Audience seating.
Audience seating. Oh.
There's
Oh.
a hot tub. Is that a hot tub there, or
Is it though? It looks so small.
is or is it just a really big sink?
Maybe it's maybe like a tub to put your kids in, so you can
Maybe.
maybe so you can watch them while you're
And
doing
eat while you
doing
watch
the
them.
dishes or making dinner or whatever.
Do your taxes. And then they splash, and of course they're gonna splash whatever is
Oh
there.
yeah, I mean it's gonna be
Um,
quite
yeah,
the
it's
mopping
weird
job to
because it
clean up
doesn't
after.
look that deep though. You
No,
can't
it
tell
really
how deep it
doesn't.
is. But it is a weird place because it's also like, well, maybe so sometimes with these shots, these pictures,
Uh-huh.
there's something not being shown,
That's true.
and that's
That's
something to
very true.
also point out about any type of media, really. There's always something, not always, but there could be something omitted from a picture.
Uh-huh. That's very
Um,
true.
and in this case, behind that little the wall with the cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
what's on the other side? Is there steps
Good
up to
question.
it?
Yeah, because
Um,
you don't see any visible steps up to it. So
but yeah, the fact that it's just open and then it's
uh-huh.
just there's the great room.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Bizarre. Oh, oh my. That
Okay, so it's
is
a repaint. They
that is
repainted it
jarring.
like a battleship.
Yeah.
These
It's
are the
like
kind of lines that were put on ships to make them harder to
it's
see. I
harder to
mean,
target by the enemy. Yeah.
yeah, hard to target. So
Yeah.
if this was, depending on what city it's in, maybe you want it harder to see. Like if this is in Gaza, you don't want it. You don't want another instance of Israeli rockets hitting it. Maybe
Yeah.
it'll make it
Fair,
harder to target.
fair enough. It is it oh
I'm
man.
being morbid, but yeah. Otherwise, I think maybe they're thinking, oh, let's add some stripes and make them off kilter, and it's fun.
Interesting.
It's certainly brighter than the before.
Yeah, it was very drab before, and that's like a whole herd
But
of zebras coming at you.
it's just a side, but yeah.
Yeah. Um, beach house rental in Newport. Kitchen design fail. All right, so we watch
This
this.
this
So
bothers me a
play that
lot.
tip then.
I wanted to open the dishwasher to see what was in there, but you can't open the dishwasher because the oven door's in the
What?
way. So I open the oven door, and you can open the dishwasher.
What?
I close those. I said, "Oh, let me check this drawer right here." Hold up, you can't open that either. So you have to open the oven. You must open the dishwasher, and then you can open the drawer.
Wow. Wow.
So
That,
this is considered a fail, but to have a kitchen, like the
mm-hmm.
kind of kitchen where people yeah, I want to be able to open everything at the same time,
Uh-huh.
or I want to open everything independently. Like you basically need to double the size of the kitchen. Like that's how you get those mega monster sized kitchens.
Uh-huh.
Because say in the past in units like the galley kitchen, yeah, you couldn't. It was like this, tight as this. Now I think in this case, maybe it's a normal suburban sized kitchen and everything could be more spaced out.
Uh-huh.
Or it is a smaller unit or house and it does need to be kind of up against each other.
It's, it's funny.
So they're just complaining that there's an extra step,
Right.
which a lot of architecture kind of might foister on people.
Yeah,
But I'm
that's
just
true.
saying, like, to solve this problem might require another 200 square feet,
Right.
and that's more heating, that's more materials.
That's true.
Like, just
That's
get
true.
over your fucking self, man.
That's true.
But
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise, it's funny in a
yeah.
ho ho way.
They should see my actual apartment, because the baseboard heat apparently did not come with the unit. It was probably built before that time.
Mhm.
Probably originally had what do you call it? Radiator heat.
But
But
that radiators should have still had radiators. Like,
yeah.
you don't take out
Oh,
radiators.
I agree. I
They're
like
so
radiator
good.
heat. I don't have any
They're the
problem with
best. They're the best.
it. But yeah, anyway, they put in the baseboard heater in the kitchen, and now it is literally impossible to open the warming drawer of my oven. So it's just, I don't know if there are things in there. I don't know if food has fallen in there. It's just
So
completely
I mean
inaccessible.
the broiler?
Yeah, like the little
Yeah,
tray that comes out underneath a
yeah,
stove.
the broiler.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean,
Hmm.
so far we haven't noticed anything bad, but it's just kind of funny. Like that's literally a
So you
design
can't
fail.
open it. Yeah. What's heating in the middle of the kitchen?
What's that?
It's in the mid, like it's in the middle of the kitchen in front of your oven.
My oven is pushed up against the wall for some reason. It's like right
Oh.
next to the exterior wall. So
Well, everything's done for a reason, but those reasons might be defunct.
yeah, for sure.
That's all. That's most of kosher law. Llama building.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Looks like a pair of llamas there.
That's fine.
I'm sure that was intentional.
Oh, definitely. All I know the buildings that's in Turkey. That looks like a llama.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It's just high modernism.
yeah.
You know,
I
you
don't,
can you can call it ugly, but it's also elegant at the same time.
yeah, I mean, there's
So,
elegance to the
and it
cantilevering.
has details.
Yeah,
Like the way the windows are recessed, and
sure.
it looks like there's louvers, and it's got those the thin parts on the outside. That's definitely like a detail that adds verticality, so it isn't just white bands.
Hmm. Interesting. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. That does break up the monotony of it just a little bit. So, again, not super egregious.
It's something that current developers don't do.
Oh, this is just. I mean, that kind of looks cool.
The
Tree
funky
birdhouse.
birdhouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks cool. I don't see what people would have a problem with that for.
It's not a problem. It's
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
half of the posts are just things people like. That's what's weird about
It's
this
so
page.
weird.
This page is also it's like 60% things people like. So it's kind of it's maybe because there aren't enough groups for architecture,
Must be.
and so it's got to glom on to like the ugly pages or the let's make fun of things pages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so maybe eventually the name will change
Yeah.
to that's it. I'm architecture spamming.
Yeah.
All you have to do is change the A to a P.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just something about the title that people don't bother to absorb the whole meaning of it.
Yeah, since when do people read?
Oh, that's true. That's true. I think.
So
I think.
typical Florida house or Florida nightmare?
Yeah.
Nightmare. I actually don't hate the colors on this one, but everything else makes me crazy.
Why? I don't know
Um,
what else would make them crazy. I guess
the
the.
windows on the third floor don't line up well.
Yeah. True.
You've got a flat roof.
It looks like it's
And
not a flat
floor.
roof. It looks like it's a hipped roof.
Oh, maybe it is.
Or
That's a
am I mixing
problem with
up hipped and
perspective,
gabled?
you know.
But it looks like
Yeah,
the
like it's
eaves are
gabled
like
out.
coming down at you.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It has a nice low brimmed hat for the hurricane season.
It's like a mushroomed cap, really.
Yeah, that's fine because one of the patterns for a good house is to have like a roof. The roof needs to actually shelter the house,
Sure.
um, and that's one way of doing that is to just have the roof end or cantilever,
Hmm.
below where the actual ceiling on the third floor is.
Right.
Where the third floor is the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it
That's
could
what.
provide some good shelter, at least half sheltering those two verandas on the
What
top
else
there.
are we looking at? Like there's the three columns that hold up
Yeah,
the balcony.
those are not bad columns.
Yeah,
They're not
it's just simple.
overdone.
It's simple, it's
Yeah,
fine. It works. I don't know. Maybe it's the windows kind of look like doors.
I suppose, but
It could be
there's some
wider, I
detail to it.
guess, but they don't also need to be wider because depending on what direction, if this is south facing, you do not want that big windows in Florida.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Uh,
really heating up your house then if you do. Yeah, I don't know.
a lot of people don't know how this stuff works. It's like, why are these windows so narrow? Because people then have wide windows, and then like they need to have the AC up, blast all the time.
Uh huh.
A sick building syndrome. Okay, I saw this on Twitter and wasn't sure
Sorry.
if it was posted yet.
What was the reason?
What was the reason?
So mad
I'm
at this.
so mad at this. Okay, the reason for what? The
That's a
fact
good
that it
question.
bulges out a little bit? It's bulging.
Maybe?
No, no. Yeah, I think that's all that's happening. The windows are not different windows.
Uh-huh.
There's the the second floor is bulging out
Right.
and it's a bay.
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see it on the inside that the room is curved out on one side.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I guess that's why. But I don't know
Uh-huh.
why it makes you mad.
That seems really...
Uh,
That's
and
just
and the
interesting.
bulge out kind of goes it smooths up to the roof line there.
Yeah.
So that's why those gray wings kind of look that way.
Is it perhaps that the roof doesn't go quite to the edges of the building?
Yeah, it definitely could go out a bit more, but maybe like it stops, so then you have
Yeah, it looks like there's a
the gutters
face
are
comes up.
at the edge of the building, the roof edge.
Huh.
And then we don't need to look at the bathroom. It's just a normal
Yeah,
bathroom.
normal bathroom.
Um,
Huh. Can't figure out that one.
Going
Going...
up in our neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So it's not done yet. So we'll see like when the actual like landscaping is there. But there's also a thing like no amount of landscaping is gonna fix this. Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely
it's
not
not particularly good.
right.
Um, doesn't seem to be McMansion level
No,
bad. But,
it's
I mean, obviously the big ass garage
right. Being the
taking
most prominent feature as well.
yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, it's not the most welcoming or friendly piece
I,
of
I would
architecture.
I'd always slap my head. Maybe I talked about this on a previous stream, but at the Solar Decathlon,
Mm-hmm.
one of the winners had a garage.
Hmm.
And this is all about having a house that was net zero or the house of the future,
Mm-hmm.
house of sustainability. I'm like, it should not have a garage.
Right.
Like, no car, but it wasn't just sustainability criteria. It was like marketability. Can this be built in a, up and coming area?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the market cares about.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Doesn't have a garage. So
Yeah. No actual consideration to
no dumping.
no
Says
dumping.
this.
Yes.
Looks like someone dumped.
Looks like someone dumped a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Stub your toes again and again and again. Let's see, what will we stub our toe on?
Oh, it's
Hmm.
pretty, but boy, oh boy, yeah. I would not want to walk barefoot across that. I don't think.
Yeah, it's if it's coming from like a mud room,
Uh
and
huh.
the idea is that like you can keep your shoes on in this area
Uh huh.
as you walk through the house. But I don't know. Then it means that maybe that should be smooth, and then the rest should be carpet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting idea, but not for me.
I mean, it's good for scraping your feet. To have like a welcome mat sized um, gravel, if not gravel, but that,
Right.
but size of a welcome mat. And then when you get in the house, instead
Right.
of wiping your feet, you wipe it on that to get excess mud off or
Right.
whatever.
And then just
Uh,
hose it down. Sure. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why.
No.
I actually,
This one, yeah, that bothers me too.
the columns are off center.
Why?
Mm.
Why? It's like they tried so hard to make a symmetrical design and then just
It can be as simple as a drawing mistake that contractors just follow the plan.
yep. Yeah, I just gotta go with the plan. Got
It's not my job to change for the plan.
right. Or second guess the architect or the engineers or yeah.
Okay, but there's other things at play here. So there's the columns are symmetrical,
Mm-hmm.
but the rooms the house has two windows on one side, three on the
Three
other.
on the other.
So the rooms are asymmetrical,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to match the windows to the spaces inside.
Right.
But that also means the column should also match.
Right.
And this, just like no, it's symmetrical columns because that's like
Because that's what you
the
do.
default.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, the yeah.
But
So
yeah, I mean, you're right. Had they just shifted all the columns and the front walk,
and
I
the
don't think
front
it'd have
walk
nearly as much.
is also centered.
Right.
So it's like having like think of it in
That.
text.
Uh
Like
huh.
you have all your centered text, and then
Right.
you have some left index text
Uh huh.
under paragraph. with the heading being centered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving on. Do you want to keep on with this?
We can move to the next group.
Let's move to the next group, I think.
Yeah, we've had enough jollies.
So next up we have form and function memes for
For
architectural teens.
This one's definitely more of a ship posting group, so probably be less actual buildings to judge,
Okay.
and more like references that maybe we can try explaining.
Yeah, we can just. Oh, you know what? I submitted my request for membership and I have
Oh,
not heard
okay.
back. So we'll just have to
Skip it.
move on to the next one for now.
Uh,
To Dank Lloyd Wright.
Dan Plaat, right? Also, definitely ship poster. Also leftist, because some of his posters just making fun of the capitalist mode of a professional architect. Can you close your chat? This starts with a good one.
Why is it
Perfectly
doing
balanced post that contains the same number of likes and comments. So that's do you know what that is?
No, I don't actually recognize that.
Okay, so this is Louis Kahn, one of his masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
A masterpiece of modernism. It is in California. It is like an institute of research, and it's
Okay.
basically like kind of two kind of semi-identical buildings with these. This is called high modernism,
Mm-hmm.
but it could, since it has like concrete siding, it's like, oh, this is brutalism. But what's brutal about that courtyard? You got that nice water stream going
Yeah, no,
out with
there's
that
texture
train.
to it.
It's literally looking out to a valley, and the
Mm-hmm.
two buildings are framing a view out to the valley. So maybe the camera needs to be held up a little higher in this
Yeah.
shot. But they want to get the water channel in there.
It kind of looks like it would be the scene for, say, in like Star Trek: The Next Generation, if they had to fly to some ultra modern civilized world, and meet with a delegation there.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the sort of setting it would be. Just very
Yeah.
very simplistic, very clean lines.
Yeah, they've done that. I mean,
Yeah.
many sci-fi movies, they use as sets various contemporary architecture.
Uh huh.
Anything Gary, and then high modern stuff, because it's just higher quality. Everything's higher quality. But something you don't see too well in this picture is that the windows have wood trim.
Oh, I
So
do
the
see that a little
woods,
bit. Yeah.
so it's not
Interesting.
just concrete. It has these
Interesting.
wood clad bays. And so it's considered perfectly balanced, which is why the caption there.
Right.
And if you scroll down, it has the same likes and comments, same number. So it's also perfectly balanced.
I almost feel like commenting on it just for that.
Mm. Then it wouldn't be perfectly
It would
balanced.
not be perfectly balanced anymore.
But,
What do we have? So we have a meme here. Nobody, absolutely nobody. Architects. What if we inhabited the Puche? I don't even know what that word means. So maybe you can enlighten me on this one.
I'll look it up. I don't know.
Okay.
So let me do a search. Puche. Can you keep it up?
Yep, I'll keep it up.
POC. Okay. Got a standard definition for you. No, that's not it. I think it is just a synonym for something posh.
Okay.
Wait, no. Let me choose a different link.
Sure.
The manipulation of the posh was an important part of stone masonry, when walls were exactly as solid as they appeared, and people expected them to be thick and noticeable.
Huh.
So modern posh approach is making walls that don't look thick. Here's a definition. Okay, the black portion of an architectural plan that represents solids.
Huh.
So what if everybody lives in the solids? Now, I get this now because there's a lot of design which is all about like, my building is like the wall itself, and everyone and all the inhabited spaces are in the wall.
Okay.
Like the walls are really thick,
Mm-hmm.
and the walls are kind of like you're kind of surrounded, so it's like you're not in a room, it's like you're in the wall.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Let me bring up an image. No, that wasn't helpful at all. Okay, so moving on.
All right, moving on. Yeah, I still trying to wrap my
What
head
if we all lived in the wall? That's
around.
So this has a lot of layers here.
All right.
So BIG is a Starchitect firm.
Oh,
Their,
okay.
their main catchphrase is hedonistic sustainability,
Mm.
which is
Ugh.
uh, we're going to build really expensive modern shit for rich people or the state, and we're going to like put kind of trees on it, and we're going to greenwash it basically.
I see.
One of their like best projects are probably like, well, they have a number of them, but they designed a trash incinerator plant
Uh-huh.
that once enough, air pollution's gathered, it like puffs it up like a smoke ring. And it's also a very large building, as incinerator plants are, and it's so big that they basically have a sloped roof that in winter is a public ski slope.
A public ski slope, huh?
Yeah, and that's the hedonism part.
I see.
Sustainable part is that it burns trash.
Uh,
So dumping it.
depending on how you look at sustainability, I guess.
Exactly.
Not taking up the space, but taking up our lungs instead.
I mean, the most absurd mention of sustainability was in a Sod Piker video looking at like the One, which is like the largest house ever built, or
Mm.
rather, the most expensive. But it's not really a house; it's an entertainment complex. But the
Ah,
guy basically gestured towards like the fake plants that he had in one of the foyers,
right.
and said like, "Yeah, we picked out fake plants, because it's more sustainable that way."
Oh, yeah. I went to a sort of like Living Green Expo a number of years ago, and I was struck by how many artificial turf companies were allowed to set up booths there and try and pitch their stuff as well. I mean, you don't have to water it, you don't have to fertilize it or
It
anything
saves
like
water.
that.
It saves water.
Saves water, fertilizer. You don't have to mow, and like it's saving the environment. Like it's literally plastic. It's gonna continue to break down into the soil. Not to mention you've killed every living thing that would normally live in that space. And it's just like
The problem, as far as logic goes, is that it's assuming that the lawn is eternal and
right,
that you must have a lawn. So if you're going to have a
right.
lawn, it should be one that uses the least amount of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And technically,
Technically, that's
AstroTurf
true.
does take less resources.
It technically takes
It
less
it
resources.
has a lower carbon footprint for a lawn. But that's like saying, well, we need an empire. And if we put solar panels on the aircraft carriers, well,
Then they're sustainable.
that's more sustainable.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Or
Yeah.
if they're nuclear powered,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No emissions. Zero emission army.
which is kind of like if you put it to a mass scale propaganda that so nuclear companies, the people who build nuclear plants,
Uh
these
huh.
are big corporations that get massive federal subsidies
Uh huh.
because no nuclear plant can break even
Right.
or make a profit for that matter. And so they're pushing very hard, and they seem to get a lot of democratic socialists on board, including like the Boys of Jacobin, to do their PR for them, to say that we need nuclear power.
Mm-hmm.
When, but guess what, Bernie Kratz, um, if nuclear power is put forward now, it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing but corporate subsidy,
Right.
and it's
Right.
as far as the mining and the carbon footprint of nuclear from including the building of the plant and the mining and the storage
The storage later on.
all together, it's no better.
Right.
But a lot of the conversation is looking at the individual parts of nuclear power,
Sure.
like that the fuel is not fossil fuels,
Right.
that the storage isn't a lot of space,
Right.
but that doesn't mean anything
Yeah.
in the long run.
Yeah. All comes out.
So okay, so anyway, so way too much background info for this meme, which is that um, I believe this is a police precinct that they are designing in the Bronx, or maybe they didn't design it. No, I think that is the point, that they just designed a police precinct in the Bronx, but
Uh-huh.
it looks like one of the museums that they built.
Yeah.
So it's like they're cops, and we're gonna spill mustard on them.
Yeah. Oh,
Which
and it's
apparently
Grey
is a
Poupon
reference
as
to
well.
it's something else. I guess it must reference something else.
I think it's just like,
But
ooh, look at you, you fancy
yeah,
cops. You need your museum looking place
yeah. But
to.
the mustard, the Great Poupon is mentioned is in a meme further down.
Oh,
So
uh-huh.
this is a running gag with
This is
Dank
a
Lord Riley.
local culture.
I
Gotcha.
mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone is. So I think it's Rem Koolhaas, or maybe I'm
Does look like him.
confusing. Don't, or maybe it's Norman Foster. Don't be fooled. If two people make a building and one mixes the programming and the other just makes office, the first guy has his own city for more rent.
Mix the programming and
I
the other.
don't quite get it, but I think it's definitely absurd.
Okay. I don't. I'm totally lost in that one.
We can move on. We can move on. Gotta message him for the. Yeah, I think it's Norman Foster.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with Norman
He's one of the
Foster.
Starchitect
Okay.
critics.
Gotcha.
Okay, you'll like this one.
Okay. You can do whatever you want on July 4th if you're vaccinated, Fauci says. 6 hours ago, you can do whatever you want on July 4th if you're vaccinated, Fauci says. From CNN's Naomi Thomas, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, Guevara putts before the golf course is repurposed for housing. Oh, if only that meant you can do whatever you want. I would tear out virtually every golf course in these cities here. There's
Now, it wasn't housing, but they did convert a country club to an arts center.
okay.
They wanted to be like the Academy of the Arts, and it didn't get the funding that, ideally it should have gotten,
Uh huh.
but it has been continuous. Or it
That's
hit
good.
hard times in the 80s, in the 90s, like everything else did.
Sure,
But it sort of survived, but maybe in a different form.
but still, in my opinion, a better use than a golf course.
Golf course.
Yeah, they just take up so much land, and they get around paying taxes by most of it not being quote unquote improved area because there's no structures on it. So pay absurdly low
Oh
taxes
man,
for the.
I just saw. So I was at the mall last week.
Uh huh.
This is because I do not usually go to the mall, but I was getting my racket restrung at the Dick's Sporting Goods that is at the mall,
Uh huh.
and there was a banner hanging from the ceiling in the main atrium, and it was a real estate ad for a golfing community, something that I thought only existed in Arizona or New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
but has come to New York. This is like a small subdivision with, it
Uh-huh.
looked like 30 units with basically a golf course
Built around
ringing
it.
it around it.
Oh, they love doing that in Minnesota, in the outer ring suburbs especially. They used to deliver to a lot of that stuff. It's such an
A few of our
obnoxious area to
subdivisions were
navigate.
big before.
What's that?
Yeah, and the fact that like you could fit another, even if they were all McMansions,
Oh,
which
of
they kind of
course,
are,
of
you could
course.
fit another 30 in this plot. But they don't. It's golf. It's golf.
Right. Yeah. Just set aside for golf.
Now, on the other hand, Albany has municipal golf course,
Uh huh.
and the department, whoever manages it for the city, which maybe it's part of TGS, the Department of General Service, they were supposed to submit to the council like a redevelopment plan or a improvement plan.
Mm-hmm.
So if not redevelop, but just improve the golf course because it actually does make money. And
That's good.
um, as far as like fees and stuff.
Sure.
But they've had like 5 years to submit this improvement plan and they still haven't.
Uh
And
huh.
it's like it's this year. I was on one of the planning board committee meetings, and they were like, "Yeah, we still haven't gotten their plan," and they're basically like, it was due this. It just the the doc says it just is due this year,
Sure.
and they're like, but they haven't given it to us yet
Mm.
to even start talking about it, whether or not. And so I suggest, next meeting, maybe I need to submit a comment
Uh-huh.
to, we have a problem in New York of dirt bikers and ATV bikers and dirt bikes in our streets.
Oh, really?
And we definitely need a place, we need like a dirt bike track.
Sure.
I think the municipal golf course is the perfect place.
There you go. There you go. Probably actually get more use than the current golf course.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Now, would they use it if they had to pay? We'll see.
That's true. That's
But
true.
the city dragged and dragged about we have a city skateboard park now,
Uh-huh.
which only existed for the last 2 years or so, and but it was a informal skate park
Sure.
for roughly 15 years, and the city just never made it official because they convinced themselves, as many municipalities do,
Mm-hmm.
that they have liability of some kind. Like we can't
Ah,
allow people to do X; they could sue us.
right.
And I'm really sick of it's not just cities, but nonprofits think this way, especially if you have more than one lawyer on a board. It's
Uh-huh.
like, no, we can't have a party, we can't do this fundraiser. Someone might sue us. Someone gets COVID in our building if we don't have stringent um, rules.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just close the building.
Just not do it, yeah.
Let's move on. See
Uh,
if we can find any.
let's just click on the photo, see if that brings up. Look at some more
Because it's all photos, yeah.
all together.
So the Society of Yachts, but instead of buildings. That's a nice sci-fi fiction.
that's I like that actually. I
Kind of
would,
looks like some Empire, Star Wars Empire.
yeah. It's got a little bit of a solar punk aesthetic, I would say.
What is not? Well, what's solar punk about it?
I mean, maybe just the setting and how it's trying to be more
Oh,
of a
okay,
natural form and
okay,
being more one with its surroundings,
uh,
I suppose. Um,
okay, okay. I,
I mean, it's
I,
definitely not slathered in
I'll buy that.
greenery or anything.
I'll buy that.
Okay.
But see, it's not working with the land. It's still on it,
Yeah, it
But
definitely is
it's
still
also
imposing it
see,
itself into the land.
but can you imagine if it was this, but multiplied by 100 times, like along the whole cliff face?
Sure. Then,
Would it still be solar punk?
right. No, I
It's
guess
only
not.
solar punk so long as it's just one.
Right.
And that's kind of the fantasy with a lot of some solar punk art, where it's just one large building and it's up by itself.
Sure.
And I'm like, that's not how cities work, or that's
That's
not how
true.
any
That's true.
real urbanism. So, but that's fantasy. But I like the solar punk cityscapes where it is nature and city combined.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a few of those that things are much more integrated in the way they conceptualize things in a very organic way. It doesn't look like it's just bringing in a few potted plants or whatever. It looks like the city has been shaped and evolved along with the ecosystem that it is a part of. So
Hmm.
I like that.
I don't think a lot of these pictures were posts of his, actually, the ones that are just text. So he has some posts ragging on Peter Eisenman.
Okay.
Uh, he is, if you don't know, one of the proteges of Corbusier.
Oh yeah, not a
So he's
huge
one of
fan of
his.
Corbu.
Okay. Eisenman's a little better, but obviously probably has some toxic French chauvinist attitudes,
Uh
as
huh.
Corbusier did.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
he actually lectured my school,
Oh
and I
okay.
actually thought that he was one of the more useful ones because he actually had some practical advice to students, which was, this is what I remember: you're not going to make anything new.
Right.
The point is to make something good.
Huh. I can see
Because there
that.
are a lot of students that are obsessed with making the next new thing. And I was kind of as well. And technically, if we design solar punk stuff, we are doing something new. So actually, in a way, he's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We do need to do something new. We need to design ecologically, and that would be something that,
That's true.
at least as far as modern architects are concerned, we haven't done.
That's true. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, that is something that is lacking from pretty much every architectural tradition.
But he's also right that if we make good architecture, then it should be ecological. Because
Yeah, absolutely
we
true as well.
redefine good as being the very least net zero, but really it should be um, carbon positive,
Yeah,
carbon negative.
carbon negative. Yeah,
Yeah.
ecologically positive. Sure,
Like it is giving back more than it takes.
absolutely.
Because there's a lot of corporations now are using net zero to greenwash themselves yet
Right.
again, even further, by
Yeah.
saying like, look, we bought enough carbon credits to offset our pollution, so we're carbon neutral.
Yeah, or they chase the LEED certification, but then not end up running the building in a way that's any more energy efficient.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to corporations lie,
Yeah, well, yeah,
or
fair enough.
can lie.
Okay, so this is the Peter Eisman you were talking about.
Yeah, but
Compared to,
it's kind of shitposty bullshit.
okay,
I think we should move on to another group.
another group.
I scrolled down Dan Plaat, right, and it took a while to get to like I don't know, funny things.
Okay,
You can scroll down the
fair enough.
pictures and find
Yeah.
something. Oh yeah, it's the post with Hey Arnold. We could talk about Hey Arnold.
Oh, Hey Arnold is one of those shows that really made me fall in love with the city.
Do not fuck with Robert Moses. Because there are a lot of neighborhood shots where there's the highway looming
There you
over.
go.
And I think there was this good video about Hey Arnold because I was rewatching it on Hulu,
Uh huh.
and it was about how like Hey Arnold represents the urban wasteland,
Does it
because
though?
well, a lot of the setting is pretty like apocalyptic. Not apocalyptic, but that's too strong a word. But
It's very concrete jungle, that's for sure.
sure, but it's also like in a state of things. A lot of things, most things are a state of decay. The fact that it showed like a city setting where there's garbage everywhere
Sure.
and things are breaking all the time. Like there's literally an episode where the butcher runs for city council because there's a pothole that's like the size of the street.
Uh huh.
The neighborhood is completely forgotten, and I think that's represented by the art, by the fact that there's that highway that just looms over in any background shot.
Uh huh. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I guess the aspect of like urban decay and crumbling infrastructure. To me, when I was a kid, at least, I guess I never really articulated it, but it seemed more like it made it seem more real, like a real city, not just a place where pretend characters lived. It seemed like really lived in,
Springfield blank.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I never really considered the viaduct looming over everything, but now that you mention it, yeah, it was a big part of the artwork of the show. Huh. Interesting.
Makes you wonder why Rhonda's family lived in the neighborhood, but sent her to a public school. Rhonda was the rich kid.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yeah. She
Rich
was
parents. I rewatched one of
friend
the
of
episodes
her
where
and
like she
Helga.
goes, they go poor because her parents are her father was a stock trader,
Uh huh.
so they were hitting a bear market or something. So like, oh, we're temporarily poor,
Temporary
and
embarrassed millionaires.
and she's like breaking down, but her parents are kind of taking it a little well. Like, say, honey, like we're coping. We played tennis at a public court today.
That's funny.
Right.
That's funny.
So it shows a bunch of pictures from A. Arnold where
Yeah,
like the viaduct is visible,
that's true.
and
Yeah,
it's really tall.
it is. Yeah, it really does
But that's
loom
what
over
it
everything.
feels like.
But it
It
always
feels
seems separate from the neighborhood completely. Like whoever
or
those people were that were traveling it were not in any way.
someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, from somewhere going to somewhere else.
It's interesting that it's not the only episode, but like the episode where it's one of the first ones where Arnold goes downtown
Oh yeah,
to a different borough, let's say.
right.
But there's also like there's not a sense of place. Like you can assume this is like between Queens and Brooklyn,
Sure.
um, but there's no actual like place name or whatever. It's just nondescript eastern seaboard city.
Well, that's true. I mean, even I recall even the school was named like PS 213 or something like that. It didn't actually have an actual real place name to it.
Oh, but I read the wiki, and the main kind of showrunner, he actually was basing it on a neighborhood in Seattle.
Ah, neighborhood in Seattle. Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where he
Seattle.
where he grew up.
Seattle. I don't know if they still have that big viaduct. It's been a while since I've been there, but I do remember seeing it when I was there. It really does dominate a lot of
Yeah.
the
So another
cityscape.
picture there is a repainted McDonald's, in
Oh,
which the something happened. I need to read the story, but
a
the
food
workers
bank.
have declared this is a food bank now.
That's
Workers
so
sees
cool.
McDonald's.
That's cool. I wonder if the McDonald's went under beforehand and then they just took over the reclaimed the building, or
It
if
could have
they.
been it.
What's that?
It could have been that. It seems to be in a more suburban area. If you
It
notice the
does, yeah.
background, there's no other buildings.
Yeah, yeah. Open lots.
Yeah,
Huh. That's cool though. You know?
but they're
Why not
using the
make it cool?
drive. They seem to be using the drive-through for
Yeah.
pickup, which is
Yeah.
very, very nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Interestingly enough, there's a former McDonald's which doesn't have a drive-through, I don't think,
Uh-huh.
which is in downtown Albany, so it's very downtown,
Uh-huh.
and it's shaped like a boat actually, so it's actually kind of a niche
Interesting.
McDonald's, but it closed quite a few years ago, and now the African American Cultural Center is has acquired it, probably for $1 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and they plan to build a greengrocer to
Oh,
open a green
cool.
because it's a food desert,
Yeah.
and they're filling it.
That's amazing. That sounds like a wonderful program. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. Move on. Was there something else? Go back.
Let's see.
Scroll down. I see an Angela Marker there. Uh,
Andrew
and then he has a bunch of posts with the Nickelodeon studios, kind of
Yeah.
like, what is this? What do you call this? And he has different labels.
Early unbuilt OMA. Architectonica.
So here's another one where he's spilling mustard on a big
Oh yeah, another
stuff.
another
Architects travel with
Chad
tote
Wojak.
bags. Yeah, Chad Wojtek. The
Smile.
smile. So this is
Oh.
oh yeah, this is one of their main projects in Harlem now. The
Mm-hmm.
smile, which is shaped like a big circular bubble building.
Uh,
Uh you know. They've been hired to do more stuff in New York and it doesn't really fit. I mean it fits with
yeah.
what the developers want,
Yeah.
but it doesn't fit New York. In the
No,
same
it's.
way that the pencil towers don't fit New York.
Oh, I don't know the pencil towers.
In Midtown, there are developers that accumulate air rights that others don't have because the law allows them to,
Ah.
and so they can basically go as high as they want.
Oh.
There's no limit because it's such a thin tower. They just go. They're going higher than the Empire State Building now.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Yeah. In fact, they're hitting like these highest residential tower projects because in no other city they'd be allowed to go as tall as they are.
Uh huh.
But because of the consolidation of air rights, like they're taking 30 stories of air rights from the block next to, like you can take them from surrounding properties. So
That's
have a
bizarre.
if you have a block where you're allowed to go 50,
Uh huh.
but the surroundings buildings go to 30, you can basically take 20 from each surrounding property, and boom, you got another extra 60 stories
Whoa.
on top of 50, and then you can build a tower that's 110,
Jeez.
and they've literally done that.
That's such a strange concept.
Yeah, and if you look at, I
Purchasing
mean,
neighboring air rights, huh?
it's interesting to see any fictional or like in a movie version of New York,
Uh huh.
these towers will not be visible. They will be um, cut out in post.
Oh,
Like you don't
really?
see the city. You're not seeing Manhattan as it really is. You're seeing Manhattan from the 90s or something, or
Oh,
from the
oh,
other.
oh! I see. So the.
Like it's you're like the public's perception of the Manhattan skyline
Uh huh.
probably hasn't changed since 9/11.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes maybe you'll see the Freedom Tower, but for the most part, it's still like a fictional New York, where
Huh.
the Empire State Building is still like the thing you notice first. But now it's crowded. It's a the especially Midtown. It's crowded.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah. See,
That's.
especially the one the Guardian one picture, that looking south from Central Park.
This is
Like that's
real?
that's what Midtown looks like now.
Yeah, thank you about my privacy there, Jordan.
Notice you can't even see the Empire State Building now. Or can you?
This
No,
is.
no, you can't.
No, I don't. I'm not seeing it anywhere.
No, it's kind of behind the black and white striped one to the left. It's kind of behind that. But then you'll notice behind that there's another tower, which is which one's that one? It's not the Bank of America one. That's the one that's in the middle with the like really tall spire,
Oh,
like
yeah. Okay,
like
I
the
see.
needle jutting out. That's a Bank of America tower.
Sure.
Um, but all of the pencil ones that you're noticing that are thinner, those are all in the last decade.
I mean, this
And
doesn't even look structurally sound. This looks like what an
mm,
8-year-old would draw if
would
they were
draw,
drawing skyscrapers.
well, or a developer. And notice how much they contrast. But this is the dystopian kind of cityscape that you kind of maybe see in, like, say, Batman Beyond,
Uh
where
huh.
like where he shows like a Gotham skyline, and it's basically the buildings like that you see in the first 3 inches of this picture,
Uh huh.
or 2 inches rather,
Right. Right.
depending on the side of the screen. And then like goes in, and then you see all the other buildings that are just completely like 10 times bigger,
Wow.
and that's kind of it's gotten to that point.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And this all comes from borrowing or purchasing, I should say, air rights
Yeah,
from.
right. Yeah, you can find a video on it. Like,
Huh.
oh, actually, what's the YouTuber name? It's oh man, I'll do a quick search, and then we could actually
Sure.
watch one of them.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get on to
Let's
the
see.
videos actually, since
Um,
probably gonna have to wind it down around 9 o'clock. Well, 9 o'clock my time. I guess it'll be 10 o'clock yours. Um,
Dumb City.
let's see.
No, it wasn't like. Here it is. Okay, the YouTuber name is Honker 3D,
Honker
and he has a
3D.
series called Stupid City. And I actually suggest, because some of them are nice. They're a bit quicker. So yeah, the Pencil Tower video is actually 12 minutes. So
Oh yeah,
if you
let's do that one.
search "Stupid City Pencil Towers,"
Let's see if he's got it in a playlist or something. Oh, no playlist. Okay.
or watch the Infinity Pools one, that one is very good. But
Infinity
they're
pools.
both under 20
Okay.
minutes, so it shouldn't take.
Pencil towers. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the Pencil Towers one.
Pencil towers. Sure. Let's do that one.
Heat Stroke is also good, but Google Earth to
What?
kind of do this.
What's that?
He's using Google Earth to do this.
Oh, this is all. Oh, so this is all just
All of this is
rendered
Google.
in Google Earth. Interesting.
Yep. Mhm.
Interesting.
Are in New York City to talk about another architectural phenomenon.
Unlike the previous episode about those parking garages with green space on top of them that are cropping up in cities around the world, this is a little more endemic to New York. Although, as we're about to see, it is emblematic of a deeper issue across the United States, at the very least. What I want to talk about is the Pencil Tower. A pencil tower is a super tall, super slender skyscraper with an aspect ratio of greater than 1 to 10. As opposed to early groundbreaking skyscrapers, these are primarily residential, and they contain usually as little as 2 or 1 housing unit per floor.
What?
At some of the high
2 or 1 housing unit per floor? So
Yeah, they're basically like a $5 million condo on
okay,
each floor.
so there's massive square footages, especially for New York, but
But
it's
also,
only
like, they're pencil towers. Like
right.
the width, it's like a 40 by 40 tower.
Oh,
40 foot by 40
I
foot.
guess I didn't realize even that
That's how
scale.
thin some of them are.
40 by 40,
Or 50 by 50, or like the 30
which
by 20. They're really thin.
even still, I'm sure that is pretty good square
Yeah.
footage for
I mean, they're much
New York
much
City.
smaller than your standard Manhattan skyscraper.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And
highest
they're all
dollar
like
per
60
square.
stories or more.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What? They're like 60 stories or more, you say?
Yeah, or 40.
40 to 60? Yeah.
But he's showing the lineup right now.
Oh, okay.
Square foot prices in the world. In addition to providing a literal bird's eye view of the city, the majority of the condominiums in these towers are foreign owned, and the majority of them are uninhabited most of the year.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the
This
market
is
forces backed by the state
Gotta love it.
so this is all just a land speculation scheme.
Pretty much,
That's sick.
isn't it?
That's
And so
disgusting.
whenever there's any like, and I didn't suggest we look at, we could have gone to the new urbanist memes for
Uh-huh.
transient-oriented teens, because most of it is trains and not buildings.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of argument, like a lot of posts on that group are about density, and because you have just as many left-leaning people as centrists,
Right.
so there's always a lot of, look, we just need more buildings.
Yeah.
We just need more construction.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of insidious, or the thing that needs to be pointed out, is that when it comes to a lot of housing policy, it's trickled down. Like there was actually
Right.
this article saying like affordable housing actually is usually the most like the luxury housing over time.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Just
once the
degraded
first
luxury.
like generation of rich people die, then the mansions get converted into affordable housing.
Yep.
That's not how it works, though. But even if it did, that's basically saying housing should be trickled down.
Right.
That we have to wait a generation before these residential towers stop being. We have to wait till there's another like housing crash, and then these will actually be rented out to actual people.
That's disgusting.
And we're only 2 minutes in.
Yeah. Man, that just seems so 180 degrees of the way that
Notice the one on the
could or
right
should
though has an interesting feature that it's shifted over a bit. Like the rest of the 2/3 of the tower are shifted, and they're kind of cantilevered a bit. This is also
Oh,
part
yeah.
of the air rights. Like they have the air rights are over the next lot, so they
Oh.
could go up, they could go higher if they shifted the tower over 20 feet.
Oh man.
But they could only build on the lot there, so they went up a certain number of stories, and then they shift over when they have to.
I see.
So that's not like
That's not even
that shift isn't some
architectural
art statement.
flair.
It's total money. It's just money.
That's
And in some way, the
such a crazy
telescope and
world.
wedding cake towers of New York were also based on how can I fit the maximum square footage in the zoning,
Right.
what the zoning allows.
Whew. Man, this is just such beyond what I am familiar
Oh,
with. That
learn something new every day.
yeah, absolutely true. Have some people coming into the chat finally. Hello to Ali Osher. If you all would not mind, go ahead and follow Ali Osher. He's a great leftist streamer. Covers politics all the time. So hello to you. Hello to Susie Foreman. I believe you. I think I've seen that you stream as well. I don't recall for sure, but hello to you as well. And hello to Mumbo's trusted advisor. Some of these buildings remind me of like Halo skyscrapers, says Mumbo's trusted advisor. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You know, this seems just one step away from like a space elevator, basically.
It's kind of the same aesthetic of the ultra high tech, techno utopian, um, which is kind of like the question that needs to be asked is what makes these towers look that way? Like, why would the Halo universe,
Uh-huh.
that Earth, build their cities that look like that? There's usually a reason why buildings look a certain way. And what this video goes into is why
Okay.
they're this way.
Let's get into that part because I'm
Yeah.
I'm just kind of flabbergasted at this point.
They have decided that a forest of hollow elevator shafts blighting a historic skyline is the best way to distribute resources. Quick xenophobia disclaimer. The problem with this investment model is that the people who own the residences don't live there. It's not because they're foreign. It's because they don't live in the units they buy, and so they don't contribute to taxes.
And they're literally taking up space that could be taken up by people that really actually need the housing.
Actual New Yorkers, man.
Yeah, actual people. I mean, there's
Because the reality is, all of the rich, they already have housing in New York City.
right. Yeah.
They don't need more. There doesn't need to be more luxury units. The luxury units are built because they're the only people who can afford to buy anything. So they basically end up having multiple units, or they just kind of keep swapping them around. Like it's like musical chairs. Well, not musical chairs, but with units,
Right. Yeah.
with towers.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
Okay, back to the story. The Pencil Tower was set in motion over 100 years ago, in 1916, when the largest office building in the world was the Equitable Building. 40 stories
The
tall
one you're
on a
looking
1 acre
at right now.
I
That was
figured
the
that was the
tallest
one.
building. That was once the tallest. I mean, well, it wasn't the tallest building, but it was also like, you notice how its profile just goes straight up.
Uh-huh.
That's what made it a problem. That it was tall and it just filled the block.
Right.
And that was because it cast a really. I mean, he'll go into it, but this is some good history. This is something that I learned because I went to school in New York, so we covered all of this over and over again.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny, and the Minneapolis skyline has gotten so much bigger since I think around the 70s when they started building actual skyscrapers, and before that, the tallest building, which still stands, was oh boy, now I'm gonna forget the name of it, but anyway, it was about a 40-story, very pencil shaped tower as well. But yeah, it's just been
It's something of it needs to be more of a widespread meme, but the idea, the concept that a skyline represents the real estate prices and nothing else.
Yeah.
That you built tall only because the land is expensive.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with aesthetics or like public desires,
Right.
democratic demand or market demand.
Yeah.
It's really just the money is made here. And so you build tall.
Well, and if so much of the space is just sitting unoccupied so that one day people can cash in on their real estate investment, that kind of starts to unravel the idea that we can build our way out of a housing crisis.
No, because here's a fun fact that probably won't get up later, but the Empire State Building
Mm-hmm.
is on average 30% vacant.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that goes for most Manhattan office real estate.
Yeah.
Which is why the centrist frontrunner in the mayoral race, Adams, his affordable housing plan is convert office space to residential. But he's going to let the same developers do that conversion. So will it actually be helpful?
I mean, if
Probably not.
Yeah, if it just leads to more land speculation and people sitting on stuff
Yeah.
till they get a good price, then it does.
Yeah, he's just opening
Completely
up
nothing.
more. It's because then it's not so much land, but square footage that
Right.
matters, and that's what really matters in New York City because it's the square
absolutely.
footage. Because you're out of land, there's no more land.
Yep. Yeah,
Unless they start making more land by filling in certain bodies of water.
yeah, I suppose they could just put a lid over the Hudson River, tall enough to have the ship still pass through. Just build on top of that.
The fifth element approach,
That's right.
where you drain the bay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're lucky if you even have, you know, access to actual outdoors outside your window.
Well, the main issue right now is the river going up, so I'm building a wall, a
Well, that's
seawall.
true as well. With
That's
sea
the
levels rising.
I was reading it wasn't solar punks as much, but it was an a climate punk
Okay.
um, book about New York in 80 years, or beyond that. It was like 180 years, and there had been like two pulses where the sea rise went up like 30 feet at once,
Mm-hmm.
and so now like everything below Midtown is underwater. But the interesting questions it brings up is that with sea level rise, by common law, where the surf is, like between low tide and high tide,
Uh huh.
that's that land cannot be owned by anyone.
Uh
It's
huh.
common land. So
Oh,
there's all of this real estate in that area that like can't be waterproofed. It can't be like shored up like a lot of buildings were in this
sure.
novel, um, by basically co-ops because real estate development wouldn't do it
Uh huh.
because it wasn't a good investment, but people needed to live there,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they shored it up
Huh.
and waterproof the basements. and
Interesting.
but in the meantime, you have this tidal area where it's owned by no one,
Yeah.
and so it's all like kind of slummy in that like the buildings are collapsing because they're in the surf,
Huh.
if they're tall, and so
Right.
like yeah,
So there's still occupiable
but
space.
it's a free for all.
It's just free for all. Wow, that's fascinating. What was the name of that book? Do you happen to remember offhand?
I bought it as a Christmas present, and I
Oh,
basically
okay.
read the first third before giving it away.
Sure.
So it's
That's
one of those
fascinating.
like
I'm
maybe
sure.
I should have given him something else. Like, did they really enjoy this book? Did they even read it? I only got to read part of it, but anyway.
Ah, that's cool though. That sounds very interesting.
Plot in Lower Manhattan. Its capital H shape gives the illusion of two towers growing out of a single podium,
Mm-hmm.
but at street level it is essentially its entire acre plot extruded 40 times upward. Seems great, right? The marvels of modern engineering allow for the surface area of an acre of urban land to be stacked 40 times on top of itself. This is the type of innovation I was promised when I signed up for capitalism. Unfortunately, the building capital.
I love this guy's very
The
sardonic, by the
sarcasm. Yeah,
way.
I like
Now
that.
his later videos, his audio gets a lot better.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so bear with the audio of
No,
this.
yeah, I'm
But
following
I love
along
like
so far.
that's the innovation I wanted when I signed
When
up
I
for
signed
capital.
up for capitalism.
A very sinister 7-acre shadow over its neighbors, which among other things harmed the property values of nearby real estate. So these developers banded together in a push for regulation. Yes, I too was shocked to hear that ruling class capitalists, despite continuously appealing to notions of individual freedom, personal responsibility, and laissez-faire economics, will clamor for big government intervention as soon as their bottom line is threatened. And so the government intervened and passed the 1916 zoning resolution, which said that if you want to build a certain height, you had to do a setback, and if you wanted to go above that height, you had to do another setback, and so on.
Sure.
And soon every building in Manhattan was shaped like a wedding cake. Until the 1950s, when an architect named Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, who had fled Germany because the Gestapo shut down his architecture school because modernism was incompatible with
Oh,
Nazism,
Bauhaus.
popularized a new style of building, the slab. The 1916 zoning code said that the less of your plot you use, the higher you can build, a concept that you may know as
Oh,
floor area ratio.
yeah.
Can you pause it?
I'm
Because
not
there's
sure.
actually a point that I don't think he was mentioning.
Go ahead.
This was the floor area ratio reg that was changed in 1961
Uh huh.
was proposed by basically a tax collector
Uh huh.
because he noticed that there was a lot of taxes that could have been gathered more efficiently. You can gather more tax
Mm-hmm.
if people are using, going higher and using more of the plot or less of the
Really?
plot. So carry on.
Interesting.
Why it took 30 years for developers to take advantage of this, but the 1951 Lever House and the 1958 Seagram building led to a new zoning resolution in 1961 which added height bonuses for adding public spaces. These resolutions also added some level of protections for residential neighborhoods and historic buildings, and required parking to be included in many new developments in an attempt to combat the city's growing density and general feeling of urban swampiness. The Lever House was one of the first skyscrapers to have air conditioning, and to keep costs down, its curtain wall windows were designed not to be operable. The building is a hermetically sealed work environment where you can pack workers into every square inch of the floor plan, because they would no longer overheat if they strayed too far from a window. The Seagram building's symmetrical layout of columns and transparent windows communicates very clearly what type of activity is going on inside and how exactly it is partitioned up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because Seagram is a liquor company that came to prominence during Prohibition.
It's that Seagram's. Okay.
This building looks black, but its outer frame is cast in bronze. It's got 60 years of patina on it, so it's seasoned like a nice cast iron griddle. And soon everything in Manhattan from then on was shaped roughly like the thing from 2001 with a privately owned park next to it or inside of it, including the early 80s Trump Tower with some very hidden, nominally public gardens where you can go and get accosted by the Secret Service for free. Now, because capitalism is always craving new markets, a growing class of global elite has created demand for $250 million penthouses a mile above the street that they can visit a few times a year when they're bored with their main house in Monaco. After decades of building up and up and up, developers invoked the most sinister piece of the zoning code, air rights. If you don't use all your zoning envelope, like if you have a relatively short building like a museum or a church or just another skyscraper, you can sell the remaining potential surface area to nearby lots. This secondary market, combined with advancements in engineering in the 2010s, created a surge in impossibly tall and petite towers. This is 200 Amsterdam in the Upper West Side. To achieve its 200-meter height, it gerrymandered a lot with 39 sides from neighboring properties, inaccessible parking spaces, and driveways. This is 432 Park Avenue. More than a fifth of its 425-meter height is reserved for mechanical use because mechanical spaces don't count towards floor area ratio. This is 100 East 53rd.
Isn't that beautiful?
Mechanical use.
They add more mechanical floors because they don't count towards floor area.
Just so you can have just a little bit better view, huh? Is that the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I guess so. To say that it's the tallest one.
Oh, and for the prestige, sure.
Yeah. And it creates some partitions. So that's where, like, there's two types of towers. There's the tower where it's a bunch of short buildings stacked on each other.
Uh-huh.
Or it's a single vertical object, like the thing we're looking at now.
Yeah.
It usually uses vertical elements that kind of go from the bottom to the top. So it's one continuous, there's verticality to it, instead of horizontal bands.
Uh-huh.
But that's the other way of doing it.
I see, yeah. Okay,
where developers merged two plots to reach the 217-meter height, transferring over 200,000 square feet of airspace from the Seagram building itself next door. This is 157, which earned its height as a result of underwriting some affordable units in the Bronx at a production cost of 5 times what it takes to actually build an affordable housing unit, producing 66 units instead of 370. It received a $65 million tax break to do this.
Oh my god! And they get all the tax breaks at the same time.
Oh, of course. Now, I don't know if it was this tower, but there was another one that also, like, you get a tax break where you get more stories to build.
Uh-huh.
If you include some percentage or some number of affordable housing units. Some of them have accomplished this by basically partitioning the affordable units into basically a different part of the building where there's separate entrances.
Mm-hmm.
So the papers called this having a pour door, because there would be a separate lobby for the people using the affordable units, and then a separate lobby for those with the
Oh,
rest.
wow. So they're literally segregating people by class within a building.
Yes.
Ah, that's insidious. That's, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had considered that sort of a concept as something that might happen going forward with especially large and already dense cities.
And sometimes the rents go up in certain buildings because the developer will add a fitness room
Uh-huh.
and then jack up the rent like $500.
Uh-huh. Because you have the amenities
Uh,
now. Yeah.
and they do this to basically, or they do other things to make life miserable for those with rent controlled apartments.
Ugh.
Once enough of them are forced to move out for various reasons,
Uh-huh.
um, then they can get recertified, classified so that they're not a rent controlled building anymore.
Oh man, that seems like a
So then so the rent goes from like let's say 2 grand to 7 grand.
that seems like a really huge incentive to harass poor people out of your building.
It is because that's why we're leftists, sir. We're because the market and capitalism, or capitalist forces,
Uh-huh.
they incentivize abuse of people,
Yep.
not innovation, just exploitation.
Yeah.
Anything that is an exploitation is usually some kind of community effort or doing business in a way that may not be the most efficient as far as the market is concerned, but
Mm-hmm.
you can make a living,
Right.
right? So you can kind of be a little more moral,
Yeah.
but it's not usually the most efficient thing, and your business will probably
Yeah.
be gone in 20 years.
It's a luxury to actually provide
Yeah,
for people with less means.
it's a privilege to not exploit, and you have every incentive to exploit.
That's so disgusting. I really hate
Yeah,
that.
whether it's
So
people or yeah. So a few more minutes here.
sure. Just a couple questions coming in here. So Mumbo's trusted advisor asked, why not add like 50 floors of mechanical floors and have another 50 on top of that to make it one of the tallest buildings? Why not just completely
It's
game the
it
system?
it's coming,
Oh,
but you got to have some kind of. Well, we're not. Hey, we're bending the rules. We're just bending. But also, like, what would you do with that much mechanical force? There's so much you can do.
yeah. I mean, basically at that point, it's just you know, for show. Saying
Yeah,
just
and it's
just to
also
skirt the regulation.
it's not materially efficient.
No,
Like, you probably it would make it more expensive,
right.
since the 50 floors on top wouldn't sell for enough to make up for the cost of building the 50 floors below.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. All right, well, let's keep moving on.
This is Steinway Tower.
Oh
It will
boy.
be 400. Oh, hold up. I like this part.
This is background music. Today's music.
It's good background music.
Yeah.
It will be 438 meters tall
Oh,
and the thinnest residential building in the world with an aspect ratio.
so as a dumb American, I have to translate the 430
Meters.
meters into feet,
Yeah.
and
Let's
that's
just say anything over 100 is tall.
yeah,
200 is fucking tall.
yeah.
300 is really fucking tall,
So four,
and 400 is can't see the top of it.
yeah, that's like over 1,200 feet. Yeah, I mean you could
Hmm.
you could easily base
Well,
jump.
just from this picture,
Yeah.
notice the buildings that look dwarfed by it in comparison around
Uh-huh.
it. Those are like
Those are
30,
huge.
40. Like those are the skyscrapers that one pictures when thinks of, like, it's around Central Park.
Right.
And they're dwarf. They look puny. But that's the Waldorf Astoria right there. The hotel from Home Alone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
the black box in the foreground there
Uh-huh.
is, do I remember which tower that is? I guess I don't. But it's in Spider-Man 2, the game.
Oh, okay.
But fuck me. Yeah, but this picture is probably taken from the top of the Rockefeller Center. So,
And it's still going up higher than that. That's crazy.
okay, Rockefeller Center is like 60 stories.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm trying to think. I think Oh, the tallest buildings in Minneapolis, I think, are maybe 60 stories at the very most.
And that's pretty tall
And that's
because
tall. That's tall.
in most, like, say, small cities, like maybe 40 is the highest they could go.
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean,
Um,
they're building some 40-story
but a broader
residential
point for the
high rise.
masses, a broader point for the masses is that building tall is just totally unnecessary,
Yeah,
and it's kind of like they look cool, but like for a cool tower, like that's why North Korea like he's building that hotel. You know, it's not a functional building. It's just to have something tall.
yeah, yeah.
And it's not, and a lot of skyscrapers are just that, to have something tall. Like there was no functional reason for the World Trade Center to be 100 stories. And I'm talking about
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
first. There was the original design was for them to be 60,
Uh-huh.
but the developer was like, why not make them 100?
Why not
Why
make
not be the
them?
tallest? It's a nice publicity stunt.
Yeah, and I mean
It's as simple as that.
those towers too, just literally towered over the rest of their buildings surrounding them, which were also
And
themselves not small buildings.
and think this, like when I say that the Empire State Building is like usually 30% vacant, maybe more. Maybe I've got it backwards, and it's like 60%
Yeah,
vacant.
very well, maybe.
But think about this: that the Chrysler and the Empire State Buildings, the iconic New York skyline, they were also built in a land speculation boom
Mm-hmm.
right before the Great Depression started. They were part of that.
Ah.
They started building them during that boom,
Oh, I didn't realize they were even that
and
old. Interesting.
yes, and when they were finished, they were empty.
Uh-huh.
The Empire State Building didn't actually have like they weren't 50% vacant until like 1940, 1945.
Wow. Wow.
Um, you know, when the bomber hit it.
Yeah.
But there's something mentioned by the also leftist, the Now There's Your Problem podcast,
Oh, I like them. They're fun.
and I think they mentioned this with Dubai or the Gulf State Vanity projects, that right before a big economic crash, there will be super tall building boom.
Really?
Yeah. What are you trying to type in?
I was just gonna look up to see how tall the IDS Center is. I'm just trying to get a sense of scale.
Uh,
IDS is the tallest
oh,
in Minnesota.
Minneapolis,
50, yeah, so our
50,
tallest building in our entire state is
57.
57 stories tall. And this is
And these are easily 90.
just, it's like, it's incomprehensible to the human mind. Wow. Oh, where was I? Back here? Nope. There it is. All right. Yeah, let's continue with the video because we gotta get wrapping up pretty soon here.
Deal of 1 to 24. Its developers contributed $9 million to the Affordable Housing Fund in exchange for a bonus of 20,000 square feet. Its condos are expected to sell at $20 to $60 million each.
Jeez.
And this is Central Park Tower, which is about to be the tallest residential building in the world. It snagged 90,000 square feet, or nearly 10% of its total square footage, by purchasing an affordable housing scheme from another development group.
Just
I
purchasing.
couldn't track
affordable
down exactly what that
housing
scheme was, but hey, maybe this is the one time it'll serve the interest of the public good.
So pause it.
These
So, do you see that hexagonal building to the right?
Yes, yes.
That's the Hearst building,
Okay.
and for the Hearst Corporation, and that's 70 stories,
That's 70 stories.
I think. Maybe it's 50. Maybe it's 50. But that's 50. So basically, yeah, and it's only a block over.
Wow.
That's on set. That's 7th Avenue. So, and I took a tour of that building. So
Hearst Tower.
yeah, you can look that up. How many?
Yeah,
stories
let's see.
that is.
46 stories. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
but still,
So 50.
it's
Close
still
to
not
50.
small.
And
That's
it's designed by Norman Foster. So
yeah.
now the interesting thing about that one is, if you notice, the base is the old Hearst building.
Oh, I see that.
So it kept the old walls, exterior walls, and the rest of it is coming out of it.
Wow. They just built it
Yeah.
right on top. Huh.
Very crystalline. But notice it's set back from the rest of the block there. So
That's true as well. Yeah. Oh well, we'll not get into that stuff.
yeah,
Cool.
I have professors who worked on some of these projects,
Uh-huh.
so they had they could get an inside tour.
Ah, cool. Cool.
Or particularly, I'm thinking of he helped refurb the Guggenheim, so
Oh,
I got
okay.
a backstage tour of that.
Ooh, that must have been
Few
cool.
people know that there's actually a theater in the bottom of the Guggenheim Museum.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
So I'd never thought of before because it's not like there's a sign like I don't know when they do shows down there or something,
Yeah, I
but
was wondering, is it actually used? Or is it
I don't know.
a
I don't think
relic?
it is.
Huh.
I guess it's a relic because it looked like one.
Oh, yeah. Didn't look like it
Because
was
it
in
doesn't look like it changed in
any.
50 years.
Yeah, interesting.
um,
Cool. All right.
These towers are built on
Yeah.
loopholes. The air rights market is lucrative, its public records are inscrutable, and there's
Just one thought that's occurred to me now is he's talking about the air rights market, and
yeah,
then swapping them back and
everything's a
forth.
market. Everything's a commodity.
Right. You know, it really reminds me of the carbon credits market where you're a
Yeah.
farmer or you know, you just happen to own a ton of land that you've never done anything with. And
Mhm.
now because we're commodifying it in a into
Yeah.
a
The
carbon credits
commodity of
market.
doing nothing.
Yeah, yeah. You
The
don't have to
commodity
actually
of
do anything to it.
nothing.
And in fact, all you have to say is, "I'm not going to do anything to this land I already wasn't going to do anything for." And now you
Yeah.
all of a sudden have a product you can sell to other people to
Yeah.
make them feel good about you know, doing their
And
part to
that's
save
that.
the planet. When
And that's
nothing is
that.
literally nothing has changed.
Because it's potential
Yeah,
development. It's potential. It's not potentially developing. Somehow, through the law, allows a corporation to keep polluting and say that they have saved land,
yeah,
or
yeah.
that they are now in balance.
Even if you're perfectly happy with whatever building is on the land, you never plan on raising it and putting up something different. It's well maintained, all that stuff. Somehow, because you have air above you, that now becomes a commodity to be bought
Yeah.
and sold.
Well, because it's area that you could have built
Yeah,
up if you
right,
wanted
right.
to.
It's all that potential.
So it's waste. It's waste. Just as an indigenous, we're not using land to the fullest. They
Oh,
had to go. Why not
yeah,
buy it from them?
man.
It's the same principle.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Let's keep going.
there's no
Okay.
mechanism to trigger public review despite the impact these buildings have on the market and the environment. The bonuses granted by paying into affordable housing funds or even developing affordable housing are skewed wildly in favor of developers because New York's affordable housing program is a joke. Eligibility is based on the AMI of the entire city and surrounding wealthy suburbs, which means that affordable units often go to upper middle class families,
Yeah.
or that they don't even get built because the tax abatements they provide are not tracked, and there's nothing to stop developers from double dipping or using one project's subsidy multiple times. This is projected to cost the city almost $1.5 billion a year in revenue and put several times that much in the pockets of the already filthy rich. So it's clear
It's just such a big shell game that all this stuff is. It's
So there, this one's 70. That's a 71.
God.
really not about density, because the original zoning resolution accommodated a projected population of 55 million people in Manhattan. And it's not
Oh,
about free market
1,500
efficiency
feet.
because, as usual, the state has intervened throughout this process to protect the interests of investors and developers. To quote our friend Rem Koolhaus, beyond a certain critical mass, each structure becomes a monument, or at least raises that expectation through its size alone. It merely is itself, and through sheer volume cannot avoid being a symbol, celebrating only the fact of its disproportionate existence, the shamelessness of its own process of creation. A lot of these
AKA,
projects
it's a
are either
palace.
Yeah, yeah. A palace.
Big dick waving. Big dick waving.
Yeah, I'm sure it's no accident the way it's shaped as well. So
So Kohlhaas wrote a book called Delirious New York, which was kind of like the architectural theory treatise on New York architecture.
okay.
It's quite an interesting read. It's a fun one because some chapters are about Coney Island, some are about like how a tower, regardless of the height, can have like programming so completely different floor to floor. Like you could have
Oh,
like
yeah.
a sports club between floors 50 to 55, and you could have an office, there, and a hotel, and then housing and restaurants on this floor that are designed, and they have an interior design so that like you could be on a Mediterranean cruise or a boat, but you're actually up in the air and
Uh-huh.
whatever. Like it's every floor is a world unto itself because it is untethered
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
to
yeah.
context or common sense.
Right. And beyond a certain height. And I remember going through my urban planning degree, they would say that above, say, 5 or 6 floors, you're basically completely untethered from the surrounding neighborhood. You no longer are part of that neighborhood
Yeah.
because you can't yell up to a person who's that high up and actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
So,
There's I wish there was more research on this, but it was cited in pattern language on its no building over 3 floors or five,
right.
because like five is also the max limit of how many stairs you could go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I lived on the 5th floor and I would sometimes hike up to it. I would definitely go downstairs.
Yeah.
I would use the stairs going down. And only if I was carrying something, I would use the elevator. But anyway, and then I moved to the 3rd floor and it was perfect.
Uh-huh.
But besides that, like the higher up you go in a building, the more neuroses there are in the tenants.
I'm not
There was a
surprised at
stat
all.
from the 70s, so I kind of wish there was more work on it, and maybe there is, but it wouldn't surprise us, right?
Yeah, I mean,
It literally makes us insane.
I have anecdotal evidence that is true. I worked as part of a community gardening nonprofit. I did an internship with them a number of years back, and one of the gardens that I interviewed the person who managed it. It was located right next to one of the largest public housing high rises in Minneapolis. And she would talk about how the residents there, especially the elderly ones, would get super depressed during the winter time. Like you could just see the change in their mood day to day. But as soon as spring hit and they knew they were actually going to be able to get out and get their plot in the community garden, their entire demeanor changed because that was for them their locus of community life. Not at all in their
Right.
own building. It was out in the adjoining community garden. So yeah, all right. Well, let's finish the video here.
Recently completed or starting construction at the time of this recording. Many of them still exist only in render form online. There have been some recent roadblocks, like a lawsuit putting a freeze on the gerrymandered to 200 Amsterdam building, and a bunch of groups like the Municipal Art Society and Friends of the Upper East Side are working hard to advocate policies that protect the skyline, protect the precious remaining urban sunlight in New York, and drive housing costs back down. But rest assured, the machine that makes these pencil towers is churning more rapidly every day. So let me know what kind of monuments to inequality have been built in your city, or what your city has done to fend off skyrocketing housing
Also known
costs.
as NIMBYs. These are NIMBY groups. They're against affordable housing because they want to stop the most development from happening. That's what new urbanist assholes sound like.
Yeah.
Like, no, these are community groups fighting for what was right for them.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like they're not NIMBYs. They're not the same as suburban assholes.
Well, sure. And
Um,
once in a while, NIMBYs have a point that whatever is being proposed shouldn't be in their neighborhood. And particularly in this case, if you're having large empty, literally empty towers being put up next to you, blocking your sunlight, destroying your quality of life, just so rich
and
people can
raising prices on everything.
raising prices on land value and property taxes, all that stuff, pushing everything up skyward, then yeah, you kind of got a point at that point. It's not just I don't want more traffic or I don't want that certain element in my neighborhood. Those are illegitimate concerns, but this is the rich people just being rich people, basically.
Now here's another pop culture reference for you. So like one of those wedding cake towers along the park.
Uh-huh.
Like imagine one of those is the tower in Ghostbusters. Like that's like
Yeah.
you think of how high that tower like feels like.
Right.
That's one of those.
Yeah.
And these are twice as tall,
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of see the
at
scale
least.
by looking at the tree line there, and it would be several
Right.
mature trees tall
Those
just for those ones that
those are
ring the
big
park.
trees, by the way. Those
Right.
are
Yeah,
big trees.
they're old mature trees. Yeah. So yeah, man, just unfathomable heights that they're reaching up.
Or if you just think free housing is cool. Or if you live in Hong
I
Kong,
think
which
free
is
housing is
practically
cool.
I think
made
free
up of
housing
these
is cool.
towers, the reasons for which we can talk about some other time. But as you might guess, it has mostly to do with colonialism. I want to say thanks to the folks on Twitter who chimed in to shower me in New York fun facts like there was almost an elevated airport in Queens, it's faster to walk across Manhattan than drive, and it's bad. And a major thank you to the people on Patreon for your support.
That's
It really
awesome.
goes a long way
He
every
always
time
he
someone
always
agrees
ends
to
like the
throw
videos
a
like
buck or
this.
two my way,
It's
and I
like
hope to
just
continue
comment
to
if
earn
you
your
think
support
blank are cool.
by creating more stuff. All
That's
right.
cool. I'm really
He's
gonna have to
only-
dig into this channel more. This is
Yeah,
great stuff.
he's intersectional. Highly recommend the Infinity Pool one. I mean, he basically calls it like the Earth, Wind, and Sky saga.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll have to
And
look at that next
and
time we.
Infinity Pools. I mean, if you want to be angry, like really angry, Infinity Pools is good.
Okay.
But I mean, it's kind of angry where you're it's because you're so informed. It's because like
Right.
I see the big picture. I see
Right.
everything. It all clicks. It all makes sense.
That's great.
Like
Well,
this is how it all works.
maybe we'll have to cover that next time we get together.
I can't wait.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's past 9 o'clock for me, and I got to get up at 5 in the morning to go do my job. So I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up for the night. I'd like to thank my guest Dan Plaat of the Three Lefts podcast. Oh, let me pull that up on screen right now.
Yeah, you did bring it out. You opened a page.
I did.
You opened my page. Oh, you just did a search,
Yeah, I was just getting your logo
which is just fine.
so that I could put it up.
I should have a new style eventually.
Very cool logo.
Is coming though. Where before I would say I don't know.
All right,
But
let me just pull it down so y'all can see it.
It's just a podcast. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's the content of audio.
It's cool logos that you come up with. I like all the flags that are on there.
Thank you. I definitely want to. I think I have an idea now of like commissioning an artist of drawing like a person, maybe an MB person, to each represent socialism, anarchism, and ecology. And they're kind of like doing the fists up pose or something.
I love it. I love that idea.
Where they're all shaking hands. They're like they're like hands in the circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're non-binary. Otherwise, I would default like, oh, they should be women.
Yeah. Sure.
Anime women.
All right. Let's see what your most recent episode is. Anarchy is a verb. Oh,
No,
wait, that's not the most recent one.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's the most recent one I posted. Go to archive.
Archive. Okay.
And
Oh, that's
4.
the archive.
Oh, okay. It's not up.
I see.
I gotta get back to that.
You're right.
But I am on episode 117.
Okay. 117. What was the most recent topic, just so that people can get a bit of flavor from what you do?
Right. I'm starting on my electoral politics, Democrats bad, independent politics good kick.
Okay.
But the last few episodes, I was doing driving bad / because it isn't just like it's a deep, broad discussion of issues. So the last episode was about starting with critiques of traffic enforcement, how arguments that it should be automated, then an article talking about how traffic enforcement is all about discretion because of white privilege. And by the end of the episode, and then I also cover an It's Going Down article about cars as weapons, so white, colonialism / the individualism of car culture is totally what America's all about, and that's racist. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And then I end. I don't read all of it, but it was an article also from Vice Motherboard about how driving tests are bullshit, and that it's just one other kind of fig leaf of we do have accountability. We train people for 5 hours on how to be a safe driver.
Yeah.
And then 40,000 people die every year.
Yeah. Oh, and
More
anyone.
than guns, more than
Right.
other sources, but what thing people worry about. And
Right.
people seem to worry about driving less. Like people
That's
are
strange.
more concerned about me on my bicycle than when I'm out in my car.
It's so bizarre because anyone who's driven on a highway for any length of time recently, I'm sure will have countered people that they were scared of, who were literally doing dangerous things right around them, menacing them in some very
Yeah.
real way. And yet it's just
Yes.
taken
How
as a
do
given.
people
It's
who
just part
can't,
of driving.
I think everyone gets a certain level of like stress disorder.
Yeah.
Maybe not post-traumatic stress disorder,
No, I think
but
that's a good way
sometimes
of
it is
putting it.
traumatic. You're scared shitless.
Yeah, for sure.
Like holy shit. But um, but maybe it's just more of a stress disorder of like under that pressure
Uh
of
huh.
like you're really in danger.
Yeah.
But then there's some people who like they're so numb to it, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, um,
Becomes
I
a
could rant all day about that.
Yeah, it becomes like a post traumatic stress sort of disorder. Just always in that tense state. Well, very cool. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for joining me tonight and for proposing this as a topic for us to discuss. It's been really eye opening. Like I've learned a lot just from reading these memes and watching these videos and discussing things with you. So thank you very much again.
Yeah, I hope we do it every month, maybe.
Yeah, I think we can make it a monthly deal. That sounds good to me.
All right, cool.
All right. Well, you take care. Have a good what little bits
Doodles.
remaining of your weekend, and we will chat again soon.
All right, great. Be well, everybody.
All right. Thanks. All right. So that was Dan Plaat of the Three Left Show. You should definitely go check out his podcast. It's always something fascinating. Man, that guy has always something unique to say from an angle that usually I have not considered things before. So can't recommend his podcast enough. So I think that's going to do it for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and find someone to raid into. We're going to take away all the stuff. We're going to put like that. Okay. And we're going to find someone to raid into. If you have anyone in mind, if you're still with me here, that you would like to see, oh boy, it's going to show me again. Okay. I wish it would not do that. And we're going to find someone to raid into. If you have anyone in mind, if you're still, I don't know why it's setting up this way on my desktop. But anyway, if you have anyone in mind, now's the time to shout it out. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of pick from people I know in one capacity or another. Oh, Ali Osher is doing Rerun Sunday. Okay. So we did him recently. Testing new setup. Let's see if Good Morning Comrade is actually... Well, I'm not hearing anything from that channel. I think he might be on mute by mistake. Maybe we'll do Bagel Bites. Bagel Bites, really cool leftist streamer. Oh, sorry about that music there. We'll just mute that. So stick with me as we raid in. It always helps out my standing with the leftist Twitch community if I have more people. And if you like this sort of thing, don't forget to hit that follow button so that you'll be notified every time that I go live. And just to remind you, I do this Sunday Funday sort of thing every Sunday night at afternoon to evening Central Standard Time. So if you live in that part of the world, just kind of orient yourself by that, and otherwise just figure out what the difference would be. And then every Friday night, I do a theory stream. So we are almost done with The Conquest of Bread by Peter Kropotkin, one of the founders or the fathers of the anarcho-communist theory of or body of theoretical thought. I guess that's the way to say it. So I think I may have to redo chapter 15 because my stream got screwed up the last time So I may be doing chapter 15 again. Otherwise, if I can figure out how to get that out there, we'll be moving on to chapter 16, and there's only 18 in the book. So getting close to the end of that one, I think we're going to do Principles of Communism by Engels next. It's a really good, just kind of straightforward overview of his conception of what a communist country and government would look like. It's kind of what people think of when they imagine what the Communist Manifesto is going to be, if they haven't yet read it. So we're going to go into that book next, but in the meantime, we still have just a few chapters left in Conquest of Bread. So I hope you'll join me for that. And I do that every Friday night, as I said, at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope to see you there. Otherwise, you can follow me in all the different places at linktr.ee/bread_theory. You can find all of my links to social media. I'm most active on Facebook, but I also try to keep up with Twitch as well. So if you want to contact me there, if you're interested in coming on the show at some point, I'm always interested in getting more perspectives into the mix. Doesn't matter if you're, have any particular thing to promote, any project to promote yourself, or if you just have an opinion and you want to share, or if you're just curious about the thing and you want to come along with me as we explore the ideas. Any of that is certainly welcome and fine when I'm looking for guests. So, that being said, I think we're gonna end it right now. So until next time, friends, Lek Tam.